Hello students! In our previous video, we learned about male and female reproductive system. Today, let us learn about the process of fertilization. It can be defined as the union of two haploid gametes, spermatozoa or sperm, the male gametes, and the ova or egg, the female gametes. Students, here it is interesting to note that both sperm and ova are haploid. They have half number of chromosomes. So, can you guess how many chromosomes human sperm and ova must be having? Pause the video and think about it. Correct. They have 23 chromosomes instead of 46 chromosomes. Any human cell will have 46 chromosomes to function properly. But gametes have half chromosomes, that is 23. And when they fertilize or fuse with each other, they restore the diploid state, that is, now they will have 46 chromosomes. And this process of fusion of gametes is called as fertilization. And so let's understand this in detail. As you know, during copulation or sexual intercourse, semen is released by the penis into the vagina of female. The motile sperms swim rapidly, pass through the cervix, enter into the uterus, and finally reach the fallopian tube. The ovum or egg released by ovary is also transported to the fallopian tube, and fertilization takes place if there are sperms. Do you know, students? This egg, which is released from ovary, can stay alive only for about 1 day, that is, 24 hours only. After it is released, thus fertilization must take place within this 24 hours. And so we can say that fertilization can only occur if the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to the tube within 1 day. The sperm enters into the ovum and fuses with it, resulting in the formation of zygote. This process of fusion of sperm and egg is called fertilization, and the zygote so formed is called as the first germ cell. And do you know why? It is because from this one cell, which we call zygote, germinates or develops the whole new organism. As we said, gametes are haploid, that is, they have half chromosomes. Zygote is diploid, that is, it has 2 end chromosomes. As evident, fertilization in human is internal and occurs in the oviduct of a female genital tract. Can you think of any other way of fertilization? Pause the video and think about it. Let me tell you, apart from internal fertilization, some lower vertebrates like fishes or amphibians like frogs and some other few organisms reproduce by external fertilization as well. External fertilization is a mode of reproduction in which male sperms fertilize female's ova outside the female body. Students, note here that fertilization happens outside the body, in contrast to internal fertilization where sperm are introduced inside the female's body and then it combines with an egg present in the female body. External fertilization typically occurs in water or a moist area. And can you think why? It is simple, student. Presence of water facilitates the movement of sperm towards the egg. Sperms can easily swim in water and reach to the egg. The release of eggs and sperms into the water is known as spawning. Spawn consists of reproductive cells or gametes, some of which will become fertilized and produce offsprings. The process of spawning typically involves females releasing ova, that's unfertilized eggs, into water, often in large quantities, while males simultaneously or sequentially release the spermatozoa or sperms to fertilize their eggs. Most aquatic animals, except for aquatic mammals and reptiles, reproduce through the process of spawning. Now students, what we have seen is fertilization is the event where male and female gamete fuse with each other and forms diploid cell called zygote. The fertilization can be internal, that is inside the female's body, or can be external, that is outside the body of female. Now students, the question to be asked is, what if there is no fertilization? What happens to the egg which was released from ovary if there is no sperm to fertilize it? Can you think about it? Let's see. We know that ovary releases one egg every month, and simultaneously the uterus of female also prepares itself every month to receive a fertilized egg. From our previous video, you already know that during this time, inner lining of uterus becomes thick and spongy for the nourishment and attachment of embryo, the process called as implantation. But now if there is no fertilization, there will be no zygote and there will be no embryo and its implantation. And since there is no embryo for implantation now, this lining is not needed any longer in the uterus. So the lining slowly breaks and come out through the vagina as blood and mucus. Also, the unfertilized egg is discarded out of the body along with this blood. Now after this, body will start the same process again for the next cycle. This cycle takes place roughly every month if there is no fertilization. It is known as menstruation in females. Now students, this is the case when there is no fertilization. But what if there is fertilization but in manner different than normal? Isn't it amazing to think about it? Yes, indeed. It would be amazing for you to know that sometimes ovaries releases 2 eggs instead of 1 egg. And it so happens that both of these eggs get fertilized by 2 different sperms. Such a case where 2 different sperms fertilize 2 different ovas is different than normal fertilization that happens between 1 egg and 1 sperm. And can you tell me what will be the outcome of this? Correct. There'll be 2 embryos and 2 fetus and 2 kids. Both these kids are called as non-identical twins or fraternal twins or dizygotic twins. Students, we are calling this as dizygotic twins since here there is dizygotic fertilization. That is, 2 zygotes are formed because of 2 fertilization. But what if there is a single egg, single fertilization, and yet there are 2 kids? Is it possible? Yes, this is also possible. In such cases, kids are called as identical twins or monozygotic twins. Since there is only 1 fertilization, that is only 1 zygote, but it divides into 2 embryos and grows up as 2 different fetus. And thus they are called as identical twins, since they have developed. Now the question is, what is this development process of zygote to embryo to fetus? We will see in our next video.